Welcome to Business in the Black, the podcast where ideas become plans, plans become actionable items, and actionable items become results. We're the go-to resource for Black entrepreneurs ready to build, grow, and dominate their industries. Each episode delivers real stories from real founders, their wins, their struggles, and the game-changing lessons that fuel success. From funding strategies to scaling secrets, we're serving up the knowledge, connections, and inspiration you need to transform your vision into victory. This is where Black excellence meets business mastery. Let's get to work. There is something about seeing someone who looks like you that makes it more tangible. You can see it, you can touch it, and it gives you the possibility to look through your imagination. Viola Davis. Welcome to another episode of Business in the Black. Today, we're excited because we have an author. And you know, people like to talk on this show, but this guy right here has the gift for gab. So we know that he is going to really excite us and ignite this passion for reading in us today. His name is Terry Lee, and he's with Terry Cares. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Brandon. I'm so glad to be here.
Awesome. So why don't you just give us a little snapshot of what Terry Cares is before we even get started?
Sure. So Terry Cares is a consulting firm. I specialize in consulting with HR matters. So recruiting, talent acquisition, all the way to compliance, policy management, development. And we also do consulting around publishing of books. So it's a well-rounded consulting firm, and I'm so glad to be here to talk about it.
Awesome. So I'm excited to hear more and more about it, and I know our audience will be really enlightened today. Let's jump right in.
Sure.
Let's talk about you being an author.
Sure.
Kaden's HR Adventure.
Yeah.
Walk us through that.
Sure. So Kaden's Amazing HR Adventure is my first book, which I'm extremely proud of. It has so much sentimental meaning to me, and the why behind it is very, very significant. So I pride myself in going to schools and talking to students and going to career days and Read Across Americas. I've been doing it since I can remember. And oftentimes the students would say, well, Mr. Lee, what do you do for a living? And I had a little trepidation around trying to explain to an elementary school student what human resources is or was. And so a light bulb went off in my head, and I decided that I would write something that could enlighten students on a career field that they had probably never thought of. The reason why I did that, though, is because I feel like representation matters. Representation matters in everything that you do, every place that you go. When you feel you are represented there, you feel more comfortable in that space. So I wanted to enlighten children on HR so that we could be represented in a space that historically hasn't been very much representation for African American children.
Your next book is about consulting. You know, it's more of the consulting realm, and you helping, business owners, pastors, and nonprofit leaders to grow. What specific goals are you looking to help these leaders to reach in this book, and what gaps were you trying to fill by writing the book?
Sure. So I'll start with, for a while now, I've been working with nonprofits and small businesses to grow their HR resource. Most of the time when people start businesses or nonprofits, they're not always thinking about what they have to have in place from a personnel, as what they used to call it, or human resources perspective. And oftentimes they have to go back and create things that needed to have been created. And so my goal as a consultant and as an HR professional is just to make sure that people are fully equipped from the very beginning to implement things to mitigate risk in their organization. And me being a person of faith and someone who is heavily committed to ministry, it's also important. It's also important for me to equip the church and to equip pastors to implement some of these same strategies to push ministry forward. And so whether you have volunteers or paid staff at your church, nonprofit, or business, it's important to have policies in place to set parameters around what people should do and shouldn't do. It's important to have evaluations in place to see what kind of progress you are making or you aren't making. And it's also important to have things in place so that if something comes up with unemployment, if something comes up with sexual harassment, if something comes up where you have to defend yourself, because the onus is always on the business, is always on the church to prove without a reasonable doubt that you are not guilty of this risk. And so making sure that you have things in place so that you can mitigate the risk all around. And so that was really the goal of this book, to prepare small businesses, churches and nonprofits with a resource that I think is missing. There is definitely a gap in resources for small businesses, churches, and nonprofits, because what these three organizations have in common is limited resources at the very beginning. And so I was endeavoring to create a resource that was practical and inexpensive so that people can start their journey in a well-rounded way.
Sounds like a real good sales pitch for the audience of Business in the Black. I see what you're doing there.
Yeah. So, okay. You can always go to Amazon and get the book on Amazon. It's right there waiting on you.
I feel it. All right. Terry also is founder of the Black Business Collective here in Atlanta, Georgia. You started with about 20 members, and we want to know more about that because we have listeners in the Atlanta area, and maybe you can franchise it out, if you will. Sure. You just never know. But what is the criteria for joining, and what makes your organization different from the other 2,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Sure. So I'll tell you a little bit about the Atlanta Collective. Atlanta Collective is a Black business entrepreneurial network where we gather and we share ideas. We are empowered by presentations on things that we may not necessarily have thought about. We share resources. We share business grant ideas. We connect each other to the things that we need to be connected to. And one thing I love about living in Atlanta in particular is there are a lot of people that do the same thing. But in the Atlanta Collective, we have some of that. And instead of being crabs or covering the resources that people have access to or know about, we share those things in the collective. So the collective is a 501c3 organization that its purpose is to empower Black business owners in whatever area your business is in. And so it's been really, really great. We started off with a few people. Actually, it was started off as a conversation with my friend Darius Thomas and Garrick Wade, who are both phenomenal business men, young Black phenomenal businessmen. And we just started at my house one day and invited some people over, had some conversations, and decided to do a monthly meeting. And so the monthly meeting has grown very quickly. At the last monthly meeting, I think we had about 22 people. So we are expanding in 2026, and I'm really, really excited about it. We're looking at opportunities to partially fund or supplement internship opportunities for people that have businesses, for other entrepreneurs or other young people who are looking to start a business in that area, figuring out ways to fund those things. So we are accepting new members. We will have an application process come out in late January for new members. And a part of that new member fee is to help all of the businesses be successful and to continue the work that we're doing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So just so you know, our audience is broad,
Sure.
And so it's co-ed, correct?
Yes, it's everybody. Everybody's welcome. If you are a person of color, or if you're not a person of color who has some relatable things that you would like to come and be a part of this organization, we welcome you. We welcome you to apply. And you can go visit us on our Instagram or our Facebook, which I can share with you. And we will be so glad for you to apply and come join our organization.
A lot of your business, really resonates with our audience because most of our audience members have businesses because they needed them. And so you say that, your business, Terry Cares, birthed out of need and then evolved into more of the passion part.
Yeah.
So, we started, hey, I need some extra money, or I need some this and that, or I need a fallback. Again, the audience knows about fallbacks. The audience knows about need. Yeah. But walk us through that evolution of moving from need to really just being passionate about what you do.
Sure. So, as I stated before, my business has so many different components, and I am actually passionate about all of those components. But to your point, Brandon, my business started out because I needed extra resources. I needed extra finances. Moving to Atlanta and just trying to grow and develop and establish myself, I decided that it would be good for me to start a business. I also, another need was to secure myself as a resource within my field. So trying to figure out how to become a steady, strong resource in my field and for people to view me as such. And so that was the need around my business. And then I've been in HR for about 14, 15 years now. And so I've always been passionate about it. But to see the results that I'm able to help people accomplish, whether it is with their business and developing policies, and their human resources are able to work more efficiently. They have a better culture. They are able to mitigate risk. That is something that I'm passionate about, whether it is helping someone write a book about something or inspiring someone to write a book about something. Very passionate about it. So just anything that I can do at this point is all based on passion. And I'm really grateful to be in this place. Also, with human resources, because I'm in human resources, everybody thinks I can get them a job. It's a thing, right? And so, but I've been blessed and fortunate to, because of my business, to be viewed as a leader in my field. And because I'm viewed as a leader in my field, there are people across many, many, many different industries that will randomly reach out and say, hey, Terry, I need an attorney, or Terry, I need an IT person, or Terry, I need this or that. And because they view me that way, and because the people that are looking for jobs know that I'm in human resources, I'm able to work with them and coach them and develop them, and then eventually connect them. And so over the last 8 years or so, I would say I've helped countless people find the talent that they need, and I've helped countless people find employment that they need. And so it's very, very, very rewarding.
Sounds like another arm to Terry Cares, but let me not build your business. You do what you want to do.
Yeah, it definitely is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. That piece I haven't really monetized because I really care about people, and I care about their well-being and their livelihood, and wanting to really help people. And sometimes your business can be more successful if you don't monetize everything.
Yeah.
Some things are just nice to do, and because you're nice to people, people will be nice to you and open doors that money could never open for you.
Starting out, you say your biggest obstacle, if you will, was not knowing where to begin, and then dealing with some self-doubt. Yeah. You had to appear as an expert because you're going out being a consultant. So if you don't know what you're talking about, people are not going to believe you. Yeah. And so how did you, navigate that tension between imposter syndrome and then establishing credibility?
Sure. So great question. As I mentioned a little earlier, when you do things for people without expecting pay, people will always be there for you.
Yeah.
And I've had a wonderful experience with finding people or running across people in my life that wanted to help me to succeed. And so a couple of those people, Dana Kilpatrick, who was my first HR boss in Atlanta, was a super mentor, right? She put me out there, told me what to do, told me how to do it, and said, you can do it and do it well.
Wow.
And so she taught me the foundational principles of HR and kind of how to use those foundational principles to succeed in every component of HR. So very early on, yes, I had a lot of doubt because I was trying to navigate a new job, trying to navigate starting a business without all of that experience. But every time I ran into a roadblock, I could go to her and ask her, hey, how should I do this? Or, hey, they're asking me this. I don't really know how to do it. And she happily supported my success in that. And she's still that same supporter today. Actually, Kaden's amazing HR adventure, the HR person in the book is a depiction of Dana.
Oh, wow.
That's how impactful and helpful she has been to me in my career. Also, a great friend of mine, his name is Dr. Trayvon Moore. He's also been that same help to me. I met him probably my second year being in Atlanta. So the business had been going for about 6 months to a year. We met at the National Association for African Americans in HR meeting one night, and we connected because Trayvon went to the illustrious, historic Tuskegee University. Yes,
I knew it was coming at some point.
He went to Tuskegee University, graduated from Tuskegee University,
as
did I.
Oh,
gosh. You know, and he has been that same support for me if I need something, if I don't know. And so to answer your question, fear was present, right? But a friend of mine told me a very long time ago, do it afraid, right? Because the more you keep moving, you'll move past the fear. And so, yes, fear was present, but I had the support system that I needed. So I encourage everybody who is endeavoring to do something, whether it's in business, whether it's in your personal life, to do it afraid. Just keep going. If you keep going and you have the support that you need, you'll make it to the place where you need to be. So now I'm here, right? And I've been doing this for about 8 years now, and the consulting piece, and I kind of know what I'm talking about now, right? So shock myself sometimes. Actually had an inbox today on Instagram. Someone was like, "Hey, I got an HR question. What's your question?" They told me their question. And to my surprise, I was able to answer it quicker than I thought I would, just because I've been doing it so long and I've had the resources and support that I needed to be successful.
In your quest to become an expert, in addition to your vast network and all the things that come along with that and advice, what specific steps did you take to position yourself as an authority in HR?
So earlier we talked about my mentors, my work mentors, right? So I think it's important, of course, to have work mentors, but it's also important to immerse yourself into your field's reputable organizations. And so I mentioned earlier NAAA HR, SHRM Atlanta, the HR Association for the state of Georgia, the State Employment HR Association. So all of those things, 100 Black Men of South Metro, it's all of those organizations. You kind of jump in and you find people within those organizations who are where you want to be, and you connect with them, not solely based on what you can get from them, but also what you can give to them. So there is something in you that allows you to be a resource for people. And you will get that in return. So if you offer your resource first, you won't even have to ask for their resource because they'll return their resource for your resource.
Absolutely.
And so all of those organizations, and dare I not mention Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated being the premier D9 fraternity.
A little too much. You guys can't let this kind of stuff go on. I don't know what y'all in my house.
Yeah.
Now, what type of stuff it is?
Yeah, I know we're in Q's house.
I ain't even gonna worry about it because you know what? What's understood doesn't have to be explained. As you were speaking.
Absolutely. So brothers in Kappa have been very supportive. The leadership of Kappa has been very supportive. Brothers that are in HR and Kappa have been very supportive. From purchasing books to giving advice to being mentors. So I just think that you have to create your own network. Many times people look for jobs and look for opportunities based on the apply, but you can be much more successful based on your network. People used to say it's not what you know, it's who you know, and I didn't know if I necessarily agreed with that. And to this day, you do have to know something, but you do. But it's just as important to know people, because people can open doors for you that your knowledge and inexperience cannot.
What advice, if you will,
Okay.
would you give entrepreneurs who are, self-funding and not looking or trying to stay away from outside investors, outside of, grants or whatever, but somebody, again, having a vested interest and ownership in your business?
Sure. So being an entrepreneur is not for the weak at heart.
Ting tong.
It's not. It's something that you do getting up in the morning. It's something that you do going to bed at night. There's something always on your plate in front of you. As a matter of fact, there are multiple things always on your plate in front of you that you have to do in order for your business to be successful. As far as financing is concerned, my main job, if as I would say it, my 9 to 5 job is a piece of the financing, but I do other things in addition to my 9 to 5 job to be able to finance the other things that I need to do for my business. Because, of course, a lot of consulting businesses are based on reimbursement. So you have to have the money there to spend. Let me rephrase that. You have to have the extra money there to spend in order to be reimbursed. Now, your reimbursement may come back greater than you spent, but you have to have it there. So there are multiple streams of income and things that I do to make sure that the money is there when I need it. Also, I look for business grants. If your business is at least somewhat established, there are business grants all over the internet. And you can also look for in your county, in your city, because cities and counties try to provide funding for small businesses because they need and want small businesses in their cities and counties. So making sure that you do that. And that's really how you got to make it happen. When you do that and you're keeping an accurate account of where you are financially, then it makes it a little easier to step out to 100% entrepreneurship. But for those of you who have families, who have bills, who have student loans, who like to travel a lot, sometimes it's best to do it in tandem until you know that you're prepared to do it singularly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good advice.
Thank you.
You identified a critical gap. People, business owners not understanding the laws around human resources. So, give us a little insider knowledge. What are the top 3 HR mistakes you see small businesses and nonprofits and churches and pastors and all the rest of the people you deal with and those leaders make that could get them in serious trouble?
Very great question. Thank you for asking me that. So there are a few different things that come straight to mind. The first thing is policies, making sure that policies are in place. Time off policies, sexual harassment policies, leave, all of those policies are in place because when you get ready to terminate someone, performance policies, when you get ready to terminate someone and there's some discrepancy about why they're being terminated and they decide they want to sue you, you need to have these policies in place to protect the organization. The other thing is, the next thing is, as you scale the business, there are certain laws that the federal government has, and even some state governments have, that you need to know so that you can make sure that you have them in place, right? And so if you're growing from 1 employee to 400 employees, you need to know that you need to have unemployment, you need to have workers' comp, you need to have FMLA, you need to have these things in place, and at what number of employees these things need to be implemented. And that applies across the board. Lastly, here's the thing with churches, and I'm very passionate about churches and pastors and ministries. Here's the thing with churches. Many churches have full-time employees.
Right.
Normally, the pastor is a full-time employee, right? But sometimes there are other full-time employees at the churches. And it's important for churches to understand the type of risk that you may or may not be creating by providing unemployment insurance to these employees, right? And so churches are not mandated according to law to have unemployment insurance. It's actually optional. But what are you doing for the church if you need to go a different direction? You're making sure that the risk that could be created by not having it is not created. So just understanding the laws, being able to apply the laws and principles to your organization early on will help you make the best decisions for your business going forward.
Again, we're Business in the Black, and our audience, the Black entrepreneurs, all of these people, they're their own HR, they're their own marketing, they're their own all these things. But that doesn't mean that you don't need to know what to really do in HR. That's why we're diving so deep into this. So now let's talk about AI, and AI specifically in HR. So you're learning different AI tools and getting certified in those areas. What specific AI tools should HR professionals, i.e. the CEO of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, be paying attention to right now?
Sure. So I think that's a two-part question, right? So I think as an HR professional, you should understand what AI is being used on and with, right? And so people are using AI to create resumes. Does that necessarily mean that what they're putting in their resume is accurate or true? We're not sure just yet, depending on the person, right? Organizations are using AI to screen resumes. So that is reducing the responsibility of the talent acquisition function. AI is being used for compensation studies. AI is being used for employee relations investigations based on the information that is put into the investigation, right? And so AI is taking over a lot of the responsibilities of the HR professional. And where I see this going forward is AI is going to help to reduce the responsibility of the HR professional, taking us from an industry that has many different segments or components to a singular role, right? So we will just be HR. We will no longer be directors of compensation. We will no longer be talent acquisition directors. We will no longer be employee relations directors. We will be HR directors that now are responsible for all of these functions because of the help of AI. So it's really important that we understand what AI tools are being used in human resources and ensure that we master those tools so that we can still be competitive for these jobs when the reduction, as I see it, takes place. I think the other thing is, as a small business or a church or ministry, using AI to complete your HR function may be helpful in one regard, but it may be detrimental in another regard because AI doesn't always necessarily produce accurate information. And so if you're asking AI something and you're banking that the information in AI is a 100% accurate, that may not necessarily be the case because lots of times AI is using the information that it is given. And so if someone gives AI false information, then it may produce false information to you, which may create risk for you and your business. So I think it's always important to have an HR person on your team, or as a consultant, or as a 1099, or however you decide to work with them, so that when you're processing these things, you may not have to pay them lots of billable hours, but you pay them some billable hours so that when you get your documents and your processes together, they can review them to ensure that the risk is not there for your organization.
In speaking about small businesses using AI and whether they should or whether they shouldn't, and whether it's good or whether it's not, whether it's accurate or it's not, whether it's going to get you sued or it's not, all the things, that can be quite daunting. That can be very intimidating to the small business owner and sometimes to a larger business owner who didn't get it right when they started. What is one practical way to dip your toe into AI?
Yeah, sure. So, some of those tools that we use, the everyday tools, the Chat GPTs, the Claudes, those types of tools are good for beginner AI folks and trying to figure out how to learn to use AI, using them for simple things like, I'm mad right now and I'm sending an email, so let me type the email out mad and tell AI to make it nice so it doesn't come across mad, and allow AI to say, is that the tone you want? And then you help AI to determine what your tones are going forward. So training your AI, I think that's a great place to start. Even looking at screening applications using AI. So attaching it to the AI and saying, I'm looking for these things in my applications for the candidate that I want. That's a great place to use AI. Also, if you're trying to figure out, if you're trying to hire your first staff, right, and you're trying to figure out what you need to pay them based on your yearly business revenue in comparison to what the market value for this type of role is, that's a good place to use AI. I think outside of that, I think it's important that, you know, policies, those things that govern your business should be given to an HR professional to kind of help you work through. But if you're just trying to get started, I think those things that help you to determine based on external facts may be good for you to use AI with.
We've already said you have a lot going on. And in listening, you can hear he has a lot going on. I mean, we still have to get back to talk about the book. So again, a lot of stuff going on. In any case, you know, you talked about, you know, your actual system of planning and delegation.
Sure.
So, you know, what does the day-to-day look like for you?
Sure. So my days are always jam-packed from the time I get up until the time I go to bed. Those times are varying. And so people often joke with me and call me the delegation king. I will delegate it to get it done. The interesting thing, though, is I will only delegate it to you if I trust that you're going to do it well and you're going to do it right.
Right.
So I am heavily a delegator, right? And so in addition to that, I have a personal assistant that kind of helps me to navigate certain things. If things are coming at me too fast, I'll throw it at my personal assistant and he will add it to my calendar or help me plan or figure out if I'm available, which also helps in business. And then lastly, I've been able to kind of form a team around the things that I need most. So I've most recently found that I need edits to my website. But again, going back to making sure that you build good relationships with people when you don't need anything.
Yeah.
And so built a relationship with someone not needing anything, was able to help them. And in return, he's able to help me with this part of my business. And so that actually helps your business to grow because you may not be able to sustain paying someone to do this for your business until you're able to pay someone to do this for your business. And so your kindness will take your business a long way. And I guess I said lastly, but for me, the thing that keeps me the most organized is calendar invites. I think you know Darius Thomas. We talked about him a little earlier. Darius started me on calendar invites. Calendar invite for lunch, calendar invite for dinner, calendar invite for all of your meetings, calendar invite for your haircut, calendar invite for your travel time, calendar invite for things that you need to set aside time to complete. So getting those calendar invites on your schedule and kind of making sure that you have enough buffer space between the invites so that you can try to be as on time as you can,
right,
and you have that travel time. So those are some things that I use to kind of help me push through my day and get those things accomplished. And I would just drop this tip as well. I am a to-do list person. So although some of the things on my to-do list may be from 3 weeks ago, they're still on my list, and I know that I have to do them, and making sure that I put deadlines by those things based on what has to get done. So just planning properly, you know, the 7 Ps. So making sure that you have those things properly planned.
In a previous episode, I talked about the difference between a CEO and a hustler. Well, you're talking about the distinction between a businessman and an entrepreneur. Talk to me about it.
So this is something that has really been impactful for me. My best friend, Tarlin Gibson, and my friend Garrick Wade, I have conversations with them all the time about how to grow, develop my business. And in some of these conversations, whether it's around my first book, my second book, or the consulting work, we always come to the principle of the businessman versus the entrepreneur. And what that is a businessman is concerned about selling a product in the way that the product is made. So if a businessman is selling shoes, they're selling shoes and shoes only. An entrepreneur has a mindset of how can I maximize my business and grow it beyond the point that it is in. And so the entrepreneur thinks about selling the shoes and with laces, and then selling a different set of laces, right? And then selling the shoe cleaner, right? And then selling the shoe horn, and then selling the shoe tongue, and everything that comes with the shoe. The entrepreneur is trying to figure out how to develop that and sell that too. And so it's really important to understand the difference between a businessman and an entrepreneur and where you fall, because the entrepreneur's weight that they carry is much heavier than the businessman's weight, right? Because again, as we talked about earlier, it takes money to run business, right? And so it takes money to scale. It takes money to grow. It takes money to branch out. And so the weight of that and the pace of that is something that the entrepreneur kind of has to master as they continue to grow their business. I think the part two to that, that you didn't necessarily ask me about, but I'm going to give it to them for free, is once you get to a place with your business that you have scaled and you have grown, you have been the consummate entrepreneur, and you have your business in a place where you want it to be, as the leader of the business, you need to know when to work in your business and when to work on your business. Because sometimes when you have the people in place, when you have the policies in place, when you have the structure in place, when you have the SOP in place, you don't have to work in your business. You can then be the leader that you are and work on your business. So work on partnerships, work on development, work on access, right? And allow the workings of the business to be taken care of by those who you have invalued time with.
Absolutely. We love a good soundbite,
don't we?
Talk to me about depends on your ability to carry the weight.
Yeah, so that's something that I've had to kind of work through myself, right? But it really does depend on the strength that you have, the mental capacity, the financial capacity, the emotional capacity that it takes to carry the weight of being an entrepreneur, right? So what that means is sometimes you can't hang out with your friends. Sometimes you can't get into a relationship. Sometimes people do not understand where you are and what you're doing. And that's some heavy weight. And sometimes you just can't afford to do certain things while you're trying to grow your business. And so are you willing to make the sacrifice that you need to make for your business to grow at the pace that you want your business to grow? For me, sometimes I can't go on all of the trips with my friends. If I didn't have a business, then I could spend the money that I spend on my business to go to all of these places. But sometimes I have to say, no, I have to sit this one out. I will catch you in 2 years when it's your rotation for me to go. Right. And so just making sure that you have your priorities in line, that your focus is there, and that you are prepared. So the ability to carry the weight is simply preparedness. Are you prepared to carry and make the sacrifices that it takes to have a successful business?
You've referenced several times of being in spaces with people, and not because you need something, but just to be there, just to be with them, just to be get to know them. So you say being genuinely kind to people when you don't need anything is very important. Walk us through one of those situations in practicality when you were just kind to somebody and it opened the door to you.
Sure. So in a job that I've had in the past, I kind of walked into the job. I had met this this young lady who was looking for an employee, and at the time, I did not know that she needed or was looking for an employee. Interestingly enough, we were at an event, and she was kind of in the corner by herself, right? And so I I was raised around older people. My mom talks about me all the time about how most of my friends are older than I am. And I was also raised in a Southern family, and so I have this ability to kind of just walk up to someone and start having a conversation similar to my dad. And so she was standing in the corner, kind of by herself on her phone. And I did the typical Terry. I was like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?"
Interrupt this later time.
Yeah, everything good. You sit over here in the corner, just being myself.
Yeah.
And she kind of laughed and chuckled, and we started a conversation, and it ended up going into what I did for a living, and I told her what my profession was, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to call you," still not knowing what she needed. So we went through the night. We became friendly, and we were just having a good time at this event. And the next day, she called me. She's like, "Hey, I know I told you I had something to talk to you about," and it was a job opportunity.
Oh wow.
And at the time, I was working and had a pretty decent job, but I was in transition, and she had no clue that I was in transition.
Right.
But simply walking up to someone who was in the corner, who I had no aspirations of getting anything from, she didn't know me, I didn't know her, turned into a career changing job opportunity. And so, just being nice to someone, being kind, is always the way to make sure that you're successful. And I am a man of faith, which I said earlier, and I don't think that those types of things happen by accident.
Right.
I think that those things happen because we are intentionally aligned for those things to happen. But in order for them to happen, you have to be kind.
Right.
And so I think that's the principle of it all. Just be nice to people. Whether it's someone walking down the street that doesn't look like how you look, or the typical person that you would talk to. A simple hello could open a door for you.
You set new goals, you reach them, and then you immediately set another goal. For example, when you set the goal of how many books you wanted to sell, or that metric, you said, okay, I want to sell at least 1,000 books. But then you sold 3,000 in less than a year. So how do you celebrate these wins while still pushing forward without burning out?
Yeah, so I have always been a person that liked to surpass my goals. Of course, I think most people try to do that. But when it comes to business and when it comes to sales, you can't wait until the goal is actually accomplished in order for you to move the baseline. Right. And so I had no idea that Kaden's Amazing HR Adventure would go the way that it would go. Now, I did have an idea that because of kindness, that people would be kind to me in return. The level of kindness, though, I was just not prepared for. So, wrote the book. I wrote the book to try to help and inspire children. And at my first book signing, I sold 300 books, which was just crazy. Right?
You had 300 people there.
Right.
At least.
Well, no. So people bought multiple books.
Oh,
people were buying books online. From the time I released the book until my first book signing, it was 300 books. Yeah. And so, and then I released a calendar of book signings. People showed up to every single book signing that I had.
Oh, that's great.
And bought multiple books. I had principals reaching out to buy bulk orders for their schools. I had principals reaching out to connect me to other principals who bought bulk orders, and I was able to go to schools and meet with students, which was the time of my life.
Yeah.
But to the question, when I sold my first 1,000 books, I was like, so how is this really going to go, right? And so was able to sell 2,000. Shortly after that, was able to sell 3,000, and so now it's 3,000 and counting. And I don't know what's next. I just know that my goal can't be 3,000 anymore. It needs to be 4,000 or
Yeah.
5,000. I don't know what opportunities are in front of me in the next 3 months. So having published my book in April, by April of next year, I have no clue what will happen with the book. But just setting those goals, setting metrics in place for monthly sales, weekly sales, making sure that the marketing plan is in place, whatever that looks like, whether it's going to be social media, whether it's emails to bookstores, emails to libraries, whether it's talking to people, calling schools, calling school districts, emails to those places as well. Just making sure that you're setting those goals that you can continue to sell to people that don't know you. Because a lot of my success has been people that know me or know of me. But the next goal for me is to impact people that have no clue who I am.
Speaking of metrics and goals and all the things, you say you track monthly metrics for consulting clients. Number of clients, income, grants. What specific numbers tell you that your business is actually healthy versus you're just busy?
Sure. So for me, it's month over month how many clients are there, and the income from each client per month. So I look at projections for the next month, and I look at actuals from the last month. So if my actuals for 1 month are $5,000, and I'm projected to keep those clients, and my actuals for the next month, my projections for the next month will be $5,000. I'm doing pretty good. But when you start seeing dips and changes, that's when you kind of become concerned. But to the last question, making sure that you're always thinking about the next.
Right.
So how to maintain what you have while still trying to grow and develop for the next, because anything could happen. Hopefully by the time this airs, we won't be in a government shutdown, right? But anything can happen. The government could shut down and halt all contracts that you have, and you lose that income. So if you're a full-time entrepreneur, then the government shut down, and so are you.
Right.
And so making sure that you have a diversified portfolio, whether it's colleges, universities, schools, government, state, local, county, city contracts, making sure that you have a diversified contract so that you can make sure that your projections never decrease. And so that's kind of what I look at on a month over month basis. And then I compare that to my expenses, right? And so what my actual expenses are to my forecasted expenses. And sometimes those expenses are changing depending on the month, right? So for example, website gets renewed every April. And so my April expenses are going to be more than my February expenses because I don't get a website renewal. My Calendly subscription expires every October. Yeah. So my November expenses will be more than my October expenses, and making sure that I have documented what those expenses are and when they happen to make sure that my business stays in the position it needs to stay in.
We've talked a lot about building businesses and how to do this and how to do that and how to make this connection and that connection. But now let's talk about some successes, because, we just talked about you selling 3,000 books, and let's see some of these books. Let's hear about the books. Let's dive into what these books are. Take it away.
Sure. So Kaden's Amazing HR Adventure is my first book, my debut book. As I said earlier, I wrote this book just simply based on representation, access, ensuring that children saw themselves represented in books, as well as inspiring them to find representation in the field of human resources. So that's why I wrote the book. So I have actually a book and a coloring book. I did both of them because I wanted to show younger children that same type of thing before they could actually read and comprehend the book. I wanted them to be able to see themselves in the coloring book, and to be able to color themselves as they are colored and illustrated in the book, right? And so, so these are my first two books. They've gone really, really, really well. And I look forward to all of those things that will go well for them in the future. So after I wrote Kaden's Amazing HR Adventure, you guys are actually hearing it first because I released this book. It's called The HR Compass. It's a human resources guide for churches, small businesses, and nonprofits. It actually releases on November the 6th. So it will release this week, which you guys will probably see this next week. So it will have been released for a week. And so please go and support those people in your life that are starting businesses, that are starting nonprofits, that are active in ministry, pastors, ministry leaders, others who have influence within ministry. Go buy this book. It'll be helpful for you to understand some of those parameters and things that you can implement to make your business, your nonprofit, or your ministry more successful.
Oh, awesome. Hey, we got the exclusive, okay? Why don't you take us on Kaden's amazing HR adventure?
Yeah, it's an adventure indeed, right? So how all of this came about is, of course, I mentioned earlier my nephew Kaden being the main character, the HR professional in the book. So Kaden is introduced to the field of human resources by his teacher. She recommends that he pursue a career in human resources, and he has no clue what it is, as most students have no clue what human resources is. And so Kaden goes home and he talks to his mom about human resources. And ironically enough, Kaden's mom has a friend who is an HR director who is willing to take Kaden on a shadowing day. And she takes him through training and development courses and culture building exercises and activities. And in the book, that person is represented and is actually my first boss, Dana, who taught me. So it's kind of a metaphor for all of the things that she taught me and prepared me for in the field of human resources. And then Kaden's teacher is actually a depiction of a very close friend and person in my life who passed away. Her name was Telsa Jones Linton, and she gave me access and space and room to grow and to develop and to become the person I am today. So I wanted to honor her in this book in that way. And so the book ends up with Kaden having a phenomenal day and making some recommendations based on the things that he learned while he was with the HR director, and taking those things back to his class, those culture principles. So those important things of everyone should feel included. You should be interested in everyone's background. The differences make us better together. And then Kaden leaves that day, his class talent day. He leaves that day feeling like he really wants to work in HR because he really wants to make that impact. And so that metaphor actually depicts who I am and why I do what I do today. Because I really want to make that impact, and I really want to have that influence with people.
Pull the heartstrings.
So go get the book.
Yes. Please support Kaden's amazing HR adventure.
Find me on Amazon.
The link is right there below you. You already see it, so don't act like you don't. The good thing about our audience is this is the gift that keeps on giving. Because, of course, by being a guest on Business in the Black, you'll just keep getting promotions from us because we just keep doing it,
Thank you.
But you're welcome. But in any case, you're also writing more books. Mm-hmm. You have an idea that you're writing at least 2 or 3 more books. So, again, our audience should be following you. We should know, when these books come out, hey, this is going to help us. It's not going to stop you from watching Business in the Black now. No. It will help be a great compliment if you need something in your hand. So talk to me about those next couple of projects that you have going on.
Sure. So without giving too much detail, so I have a few more books that I'm working on. One is a leadership book. It's talking about the levels of leadership, which is actually based on a biblical principle that can be applied to the marketplace. And so just understanding the roles and responsibilities of the 3 levels of leadership: the sheep, the shepherd, and the sheepdog. Mm-hmm. And so where they fall and their accountability level and their buy-in level, and how you can motivate them to help your business to grow and to develop. The other book that I'm writing is Navigating the Corporate Game. And so being young, or at least relatively young, I would think, I've had a lot of experience with navigating the corporate game. So I came to Atlanta with a MBA, and I was young when I got here. And so when I was able to have opportunity to get the experience that I needed, I was still very, very young. And now I still think that I'm kind of young, and I've had to navigate a lot because of my age.
Mm-hmm.
So people look at me, and I would think that I would look younger than most people that I'm working with, especially my counterparts, and they make an assumption about me. And so I've had to figure out how to navigate that. I've also had to figure out how to navigate people that are not at my level of leadership that are my age. And I've also had to figure out what I should be saying and what I shouldn't be saying, how I should present myself, how I should not present myself. And it's really easy to say, well, they shouldn't judge me based on what I have on or what I look like. That's great. That's really nice, but they are.
Right.
And so you have to present yourself in a way that commands the respect in the room. And so I want to help people understand how to navigate the corporate game so that they can have success in their 9-to-5 careers as well. And so I attribute my learning of this corporate game to the access that my parents provided for us growing up. So I went to private schools with a diversified group of people. I also went to public schools. And then I had my family. My dad's family was from the country. My mom's family is from the city.
Diverse.
Yeah, very, very, very diverse. And so just using those experiences, playing sports with all different types of people, going to different countries and going to different states and just doing different things. I used those experiences and some situations that I had to navigate that were non-work related to help navigate situations that are work related. So really excited about that book as well.
Awesome.
So those are the two things that I'm working on. I'm working on another little surprise for school systems.
Okay.
That will help students learn to write books, and I want to be able to help students get books published based on that. So it's gonna be great. I'm really excited about those three things, and I look forward to you guys following me and learning more about it once I release them.
Absolutely, absolutely. He doesn't know it, but that third thing, one of my businesses, we're gonna
Yeah,
partner.
yeah.
So it's up. You
Yeah.
will see that again.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be a collaboration. It's going to be great. Again, it goes back to making sure that we all can succeed together. There's enough room, there's enough space, there's enough people. There's over 300 million people in the United States. There's enough people for everybody to be able to be successful. And so we're going to do that.
And we are better together.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You want to be known as a businessman who helped people who may not have been able to afford it. Mm-hmm. So how do you balance that, access, mission driven, sure, 1, 2, 3, and remain a profitable business?
Sure. So it is definitely a delicate balance, right? I have some phenomenal people around me that are always reminding me, Terry, you cannot give everything away. You have to charge for some things. And so although I do want to ensure that people have access, I do also realize that people pay for what they want to pay for. And so just making sure that it is a situation where I can help someone at the level that they need to be helped. We all have a level that we need to be helped. So for example, if I am consulting with someone's and helping them develop their resume and they don't have a job, I know that's different than helping someone who is working and has a job. And so having pay structure set up to be able to do that. If I know someone that wants a book for their child and I know they have 12 children, right? I might do a buy one get one free with you, right? To help you give access to your children, because that's not their fault that there's that limited access, and it's not an intentional thing on your fault that they have limited access. You just have limited resources, right? Absolutely. And so you help people based on what they need, right? Mm-hmm. Not necessarily everybody on the same level. it's equity,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's equity, not equality. So so just making sure that I can be as impactful. And I've had situations where I've helped people and their children have come back to help me.
Oh wow.
Right. And so you never know how you're going to get it back. And my pastor from college always told me that, he tells me to this day, he's 94, he'll be 95 next year. He tells me to this day, it's always right to do the right thing, even when you don't get anything from it. And so sometimes I don't get anything from it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But as long as I'm able to do the right thing and I feel that I have done the right thing, then that's more than money can buy.
The mission of Business in the Black is to help the aspiring entrepreneur as much as the one that is already in business for themselves. So, for that aspiring entrepreneur who is, knee deep in their career, they know what they're doing. They're a subject matter expert. They got it. Everybody comes to them for answers.
For sure.
What would you tell them if they don't know how to package it? What would be that first step you'd say in moving towards their goal? And then after they and our other audience, have decided, hey, I'm in business and all these types of things, what is one thing that you want every small business owner to understand about HR before they get into legal trouble?
Sure. So I'll tackle the first question first. So if you are in your corporate career and you're trying to figure out how to launch your business, the first thing that I would say you should do is find a business coach. Find you a business coach. You're working, so you have resources to be able to pay for a business coach. Find you a business coach early on. That business coach will help you to be an entrepreneur and not a business person. They'll help you with strategy. They'll help you with ideas. And then I will say this before I give the second part. You have to understand that everybody doesn't start with a business plan. Some of us just jumped out there, and you're watching Business in the Black. So you are now going to be empowered to work on your business plan with your business coach. Everything in your business plan may not pan out how you have it, but it will give you the framework that you need to have an even more successful, faster scaling and growing business. So create you a business plan. And from the faith side of it, pray because you're going to need it.
Yeah.
There are going to be challenging times. There are going to be times where you don't see how it's going to happen. So lean on your faith to make sure that you have the fortitude that you need to be successful. And then for the second question, what's the one thing every small business owner needs to understand so that you don't get into legal trouble? I have a very quick and concise answer for that. And that is, you need to buy the HR Compass. Go to Amazon right now and get it. It will keep you out of legal trouble. It will give you the guidance that you need so that you stay out of legal trouble. And even if it's not as much as legal trouble, it will keep you away from the risk that you don't need to be experiencing because you have empowered yourself not to experience it. So I would love for you to go get the book, and I would love to talk to you. So if you have any questions or you want some consulting time, I'd be glad to schedule some time with you via my website.
Terry, thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, you have been a wealth of knowledge, not only with giving us access to your books and the exclusive. Don't forget about the exclusive. But there has just been so much knowledge shared today with our audience. Sure. And I am really confident that somebody somewhere is going to be able to grab some things and say, you know what? This makes a lot of sense. And I've been trying to get this together, and I've been trying to do this, and I've been hitting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. I've been trying to network with these people. I've been trying to do this, and I just, I feel so much better. I'm in such much better place now.
Yeah.
And so that is, like I say, the goal of every episode of Business in the Black, and you have knocked it out of the park.
Thank you.
I mean, you might be on the other side of 1911, but you did the best you could today. But probably it's because you sit beside the brothers. I'm gonna just go with that.
Well,
that must be what it is. I mean, see how you can't even get a word in because that's what it is, and that's how we're gonna leave it. I mean, that just is what it is.
All right.
But no, we really appreciate you and your time, and again, your knowledge. And so, again, thank you to our listeners, and you know how we do it. We're about to turn it over to Terry.
Hey everybody, I so enjoyed myself today at Business in the Black. I really appreciate you guys joining us, and I hope you learned something great today. Please follow me at www.terrycares.org or on my Instagram at tel_squared, or shoot me a message at hello@terrycares.org. You can also book some consultation time on my website. I'd be so glad to meet with you and talk with you and even connect you to the Atlanta Collective. And last but not least, yo to the Nukes, the right year, the right frat, the right time, we right here, baby.
That's another episode of Business in the Black, where Black entrepreneurs turn vision into victory. Ready for more game-changing strategies and success stories? Connect with us everywhere. Facebook, Business in the Black Pod. YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, Business in the Black Pod, no spaces. Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Business in the Black. Keep building, keep growing, keep winning, and keep building your legacy.